Well,
that's fine. Yeah, that's good. Like, whatever.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, my drink is not secure. Nope. I can't put it there. I forgot the thingy was right there. Alright.
You ready? Ooh, first try! Welcome to Books We've Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Nicole.
And today we are doing our brief review of Three Body by Tencent, episodes 2 through 9.
Mm-hmm.
We did a very short review of episode 1 maybe like 2 weeks ago or so, and then we actually filmed this episode already.
For 2 through 4.
For 2 through 4, and it was terrible.
Yeah, we had a lot of issues with the video.
Yeah.
It was not postable.
Yeah. So we watched a couple more, and we decided to do it this way and let everybody else talk to us as we go.
Yeah.
So we're really excited.
Yeah, but we were definitely at a point where we had to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because if we watched any more, I just wouldn't even know what I wanted to talk about.
If you have not read the Three Body series in its totality, I will say, don't watch this video.
Right.
Because I am liable to talk about some things that are going to happen in other books, because I honestly don't remember what happens in each particular thing. I just don't remember.
And that is how our channel works.
Yeah.
We talk about the assigned things, but this is except for those we have. We have read the series, and so we're assuming that you've also read the series, or that you're okay with it being spoiled.
Yeah.
So...
also, if you have not watched up to episode 9 and you care about spoilers for some reason, I suppose don't watch this right now. Catch up and then watch it.
Back up.
But also, I don't really mind spoilers for the show, right? Like that doesn't. It doesn't. I'm like, don't give me them, but
right.
But
know, yeah,
that doesn't make me.
If something comes up in the chat, it's not a huge deal because we've read it all. So
Right. I care much more about the book than I do the show. So
yeah,
that's all there's to it. Cool. Well, we're loving it. Let's be real honest.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's so good. And episode 2 really gave us a lot, right? Like we had concerns about how are they going to show these like visually challenging things in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of gave us some insight into that.
Yeah.
With the turkey and the shooter.
Yeah, that's actually one of my notes. They knocked that out of the park. The shooters like sequence that they did is very similar to the way I imagine Discworld. I don't remember who wrote Discworld. I'm sorry if somebody knows. Let us know. Do you know about Discworld?
I don't.
Okay, it's a sci-fi novel, but it's about like a 2D world basically, and so kind of zooming in and then showing it in a 3D way, I think was really interesting, and it gives me a lot of hope for spoiler the third book, because whenever they 2Dify the solar system, that's going to be such a hard scene to do, but I think they know what they're doing, and if they go that far, I think it's going to be excellent.
I also thought it was really clever that they went ahead and introduced something animated, just to set that expectation that there will be things. Oh, Terry Pratchett, thank you.
We, of course, right?
Hey, no Bob.
Obviously.
So I thought that was great, that they went ahead and introduced that. It was a great way to show the storytelling part of the turkey and the shooter and all that stuff. And it also kept the turkey from being so gruesome.
Yeah, sure.
And we were real confused at the end of that episode. Like in the demonstration, it showed turkeys, and at the end of the episode, it showed a chicken.
Yeah.
And we were really confused.
I'm not sure that the two things were necessarily tied together.
Well, you know what the chickens were. In the next episode, we're at that kind of like Buddhist neighborhood
temple thing, yeah.
And he has chickens, and that's what they were.
Right.
So,
but it does kind of show it together.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird. Yeah.
And I do like that too. Just kind of jumping around. I like at the end of the episodes, you kind of get those still frames.
Yeah, that's cool.
Stuff in that episode, maybe stuff to come, but I really like it.
You know, so for me, I don't know if we talked about this, but I kind of imagine those stills at the end of the episodes to be like snapshots that Sophons are sending back to.
That's interesting.
And so like they're spying on him, and it's almost like those pictures you get of somebody like hopping in a car, and it's black and white, and it's like the back of their head or whatever, and like a spy thriller, and that's kind of the way I see it.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's a good idea.
This is probably our first show or anything that we've ever watched like in Chinese, and I think we're really enjoying that too.
Mm-hmm.
Reading the book in English, you just kind of see everybody much like yourself, but to see kind of like the mannerisms and especially Dasha, right? Just like his how dramatic he is. He's dramatic in the book and he's dramatic in the show.
Yeah.
And everybody around him is kind of like, what's like? There's a scene where he's like drinking at like 5 a.m. with Wang Mao, and everybody's like, what's going on over there, right? And that's just, and then he dances with the people,
out in the street. Yeah,
it's so good.
He is so likable.
Yeah.
I love Dasha.
There are a lot of things. There are several things that are add-ons to the show that weren't in the book, as to the best of my memory. And him strapping the bomb to his chest is one of those.
Or the
things.
Timer.
I mean, he implies it's a bomb, right? Like what he's saying.
It was made by a bomb maker.
Right, but what he's saying is, whenever you go, I go.
Yeah.
I think it's a bomb.
But we don't know that he's going. I mean,
I don't think.
Why would they assume
I would
that?
tell you it was, and then not do it. But the point is, it makes him that much more lovable, right?
Yeah.
It really gives him kind of this connection, because otherwise he's just like kind of a crazy person, and it gives Wang Mao like a kind of a reason, to trust,
Absolutely. Other additions. Also in episode 2, it was after the pool game when Wang Mao's walking down the sidewalk. He sees the bottle fall up, and the box of chocolates fall into
the concrete,
and
then we actually disagree on this
one,
because at that point there's 2 balls that Nicole said were probably the pool balls, but for me, they were the Sophons, and I didn't catch that they were the pool balls, and I just thought he kind of like maybe had, like, he can't see them, I get that, but I thought that was interesting.
And the light that like reaches out. That was really cool. Let's see. You really liked that pool scene.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Throwing the books on the ground and I like Dinghy here. And actually watching this show has now made me want to go back and read Ball Lightning.
Yeah.
Because I want to see how Dinghy goes from this guy to the kind of just eccentric, crazy guy that we meet in book 3.
Yeah. That was the first scene in the book that really introduced me to something. So we kind of already had the shooter and the farmer floating around, I think. Maybe not, I don't remember. But that scene where it was just like, what if, physics is predictable, but like, what if it wasn't?
Right.
Like, what if this is just like a weird point in time and space when it's all predictable, but it shouldn't be this way? And that was like the first introduction to sort of like a philosophical concept in that book. And so, I mean, they just knocked it out of the park. And I see that scene as really dystopian. And I don't know if that apartment was supposed to be like a nice apartment. And it was nice, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But he had all those like neon lights and everything. It was very Blade Runner outside of his apartment, and it just screamed dystopia, to me, and sort of just where the future is going, and it projected that like sadness and chaos of Dinghy, I think.
So also in episode 2 is when he notices the countdown in the film, like in the pictures, and I really loved, and this was episode 2 or episode 3, I don't remember, but he has all the numbers on his dry erase board.
Yeah.
And one of those numbers comes off the board, disappears from the board, hits him, like he has to shield himself from it. Yeah. And then shortly after the countdown starts, in his eyes. I thought that was such a cool detail. And then the number reappears on the dry erase board.
It takes what the Sophons can do. So number one, we don't know about Sophons yet, right? Like if you were just watching the show, you don't know anything about Sophons. Yeah. And it really it takes that mystery to like a whole new level that you need for the show. And in the book we didn't know about Sophons either. Mm-hmm. But it's not as visually dramatic, just to have the countdown and that's it. And there's no reason to think that if Sophons can make numbers show up in your eyes, they can do all kinds of other stuff. Mm-hmm. Make stuff disappear, whatever. It was actually in this scene where, so after that he's driving and like the lights from the car blind him, mm-hmm. and it made me think back and it wasn't quite clear to me, but Luoji. When we first meet Luoji, his girlfriend or whoever gets run over by a car, and it's kind of implied that it was the ETO or somebody trying to assassinate him, but we don't really think that it's somebody like trying to hit him. What if it was let Sofan and like the light, and somebody getting this car to crash into him? And I think that's much more likely. And so I like that we kind of got some play with that here.
That there's more power to them than just the countdown in the eyes. Skipping forward, just bouncing around. It was in episode 9. Where we saw another scientist get the Sophons in his eyes.
Yeah.
And he fell through his
glass table.
Glass coffee table and poor guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so that was in another edition, right? There is no part of the book where Wacy, I think that's his name, the general. There's no part in the book where the general just goes ahead and says, "All right, we're going to stick all these dudes in protective custody."
Well, and because the reporter is a whole new addition, I don't love her character. It's annoying to me.
I actually made a note about her. One of our complaints. I have no complaints about this book. I love the book. It was excellent. But one of the things that we made mention of was that there was really no strong female characters other than the second sword holder, whose name I can't remember now. But so we have Wang Mao's wife now, who is hilarious.
Yeah, don't you shut that door again.
Yeah, you're getting too hot in here, the whole thing. We have the reporter, and we have Dasha's sidekick. And
that's a good point.
I mean, what they're doing is they're giving representation to a whole half of the Chinese population that just was not there. Right. And they're putting them in professional roles where they're perfectly capable, and I thought it was a good addition.
I do love Bing Bing. That's the sidekick who's 11 people, Yeah. She's great.
Yeah, I liked her a lot. And she's somebody who just does not exist in the book at all. And what it does is kind of lets us see Dasha play detective, because you don't really get that in the book, because you don't have Dasha as a perspective.
Right.
And so you don't want him just hanging out by himself. And it does a lot of good character building for him. And it forces him to, he's a lone wolf, and he has to have a team now. And it kind of makes his partnership with Wang Mao a little more believable, I think. So.
Yeah, that's been a real good addition. One of the things that you had mentioned, an improvement in the series on the book, was how they've made those suicides more believable to you. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of my problems in the book was that I just don't think people would just up and kill themselves because their experiment didn't work. Maybe if you'd flush $10 trillion down the toilet, right? And at least in our culture, you just wouldn't. You'd be like, oh, that sucks and it's terrible, and maybe you quit your job. I don't know. But one of the things that I thought was helpful was when Ye Wenxie is talking to Wang Mao and says, I raised her this way, where physics is the only thing she had, and she wasn't really good at talking to other people, and she didn't have anything else going for her but this. That makes a lot more sense to me, And there's we get the scene where Dinghy is checking on her. We get that twice. We have once where he's just kind of checking on her, and then we have once that's extended where he's actually proposing to her. And it's clear that she's just really not connected to him at all, right? Because we never actually see them together in the book ever.
Yeah.
And so that's an addition that we get that shows that this wasn't really love for her. It was just sort of a thing that was happening or whatever. And so I like that explanation by her mother because it makes it a little more believable for me, right? One of the other, the white scientist, I can't remember his name, that dude, the German guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Not in the book, but he also kills himself.
Right.
In the worst way possible. And by taking an EKG and just zapping himself. And I'm not sure that would just outright kill you. I mean, it's bad, but I don't know. And he's a weird character, and he just kind of does it, and we have no background on him.
We don't even know who he is.
And that was a good scene too, because that scene is the scene where
with the ant.
Yeah, with the ant. What's the Japanese woman's name?
Shin Yufei?
Yeah, yeah. Yufei is there and is talking to him about this ant crawling on the glass, and it's an absolute callback to in the beginning of the second book with the ant crawling around on the tombstone, but doesn't really understand what's going on. And that was an excellent addition. That was a good conversation.
And speaking of Shin Yufei, they're putting way more like emphasis on her and giving her much more airtime than what she had in the book. I mean, it was pretty, just stop. And then the raid at her house, and then she was gone.
Sure. I enjoy Pan Han's character. He's kind of exactly the way I would have seen him, I suppose. But he's kind of the reporter, right? Like, he's kind of tied in with the reporter story now, and that's where we're getting his perspective from. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Here we are 9 episodes in. Somebody told us this morning that there's at least 24. I didn't realize that. I thought there was like 12, so I'm sorry. But, here we are, let's say halfway in, and there's still no reveal that Ye Wenxie is the one who has, like, summoned these aliens. It's not even necessarily clear that there are aliens yet, right? Like, it's...
Right.
You're pretty sure, but, like, nobody has come out and said it.
Yeah.
And there's definitely no... necessary tie-in between Ye Wenxie as Dong Dong's mom and the scenes that we're getting where with the don't respond and all that. So I guess that's...
And we haven't even had any of those scenes since like episode 3.
Yeah.
And there was just one quick mention of there's 30 episodes. And there was just a quick mention of, we looked into Ye Wenxie's background. It was pretty traumatic. Her mom and sister killed her dad, or had her dad killed. Right.
That's another interesting conversation. I really thought that, because that is a topic that I would think is kind of like a sore subject, right? Like just, all that stuff. And they kind of say like, oh, they had him killed, but then they really don't dig into it like in the book does with the struggle sessions and all that sort of stuff. I think it was an interesting way to pitch it in the show, and I don't necessarily know like what the kosher way to do it is, and that's probably the best way to go about it. So.
Well, just that reference of like those were some bad times, and or hard times. Yeah. But we'll see if they go any further into it, because I mean, in the book, that was huge.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it starts,
Yeah.
But I imagine it's somewhat frowned upon to give callbacks to that.
Revisit that little bit of history. Yeah. So, as we continue forward, Wangmail stops the experiment. The counter goes away. Yeah. And he goes to visit Ye Wenxie to learn how to see the universe flicker. Yeah. This poor little scientist guy that shows him how to watch the cosmic microwave background.
He's so funny.
And then forces him to come back afterwards to revisit. He's seen this glimpse of something, beyond comprehension. Right. And is just desperately trying to recreate that. Right. I liked that whole thing. I liked that, when Wang Mao first got there, the little scientist was like, all of these scientists have been, dying by suicide. Is this our time? And Wang Mao says it's my time. Right. But he can't separate himself from it. Once you've seen something like that, you just can't go back.
So he was a funny character in the book. They did a great job casting him though in the show, and that scene where he brings Wang Mao back is not a scene that's in the book, but what he's doing is science, right? Like he has seen a thing. He is now recreating the conditions, and he's like just doing his best. And it was
trying to isolate the variables.
it was a bizarre scene to add, because I don't think it really added anything for us, like as viewers, but it was an enjoyable scene.
Yeah, and I think realistic.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Well, whenever it happened again, I thought that like the TV had skipped and we were on the wrong episode.
I also thought that there was like a glitch.
It's weird.
We were missing something.
Now, so one other thing though is throughout all of that, one of the things that they pitch in the show was, well, what if something was X number of miles away from the planet, and it was like opened up and it was the thing that was flickering, and that's how you did it, right? He says that to Wang Mao says that to Shin Yufei That, like, I think this is how you did it. Or you could have stuck something near my eyes, and that's how it happened. Now, we know it's not the eyes because the satellites and our friend, saw it all. But in the books, you get no explanation, like, whatsoever about how the universe flickers, right? Is it just something going in and out of his eyes? Is it going out of his eyes at the same time it's going out of the satellites? Because that's possible. They can move fast enough that it could. But I think what they're doing is setting up a good explanation for it. And I think what they're going to say is that the Sophons unfolded that far away from the planet and that they flashed, right?
Interesting.
I think that's what they're going to do. And that makes a lot of sense. It's an elegant way to have that sort of thing happen. So I'll be looking forward to that reveal.
This also makes me wonder, just watching all this and seeing some of these additions, how much did we miss through interpretation in the English version? How much of this was actually there, but it just, some of it just got cut out or wasn't
You're talking about in the book?
Important in the interpretation that we got.
Yeah, if anybody has read this in another language and some of these scenes that we're saying weren't there were there, I'm definitely interested.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have happened, but like, what do I know? So
I feel like we've gotten a couple of comments from viewers. Well, I mean, like one of the guys, one of the wall facers, his whole plan was different in our version of the book.
That is true. Yeah.
Like completely different.
But that was pitched as almost like a later version, not like our version, but it's a later version. But because something about ball lightning, I think was the. It'd be I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, you're right. You are right.
So it's definitely possible.
Let's talking about things that are different. Dasha gets to go to Three Body.
Yeah.
And his name is Stu. Yeah.
Stu.
And he loses.
Just immediately.
He loses in like the newbie area, right?
Aww.
It was. I think they did Three Body, and it's very good. The animation I think was excellent. The whole scene where the king chucks his like old minister into like the little burning pot, and then Wang Mao has to like watch this other dude like dance around and predict and everything. I mean, like that stuff was just so good. I am so excited because it was that point in the book where I started when I was reading alone before this show ever even existed. Where we were on the plane, and I was like, "You've got to read this. This is nuts."
Well, and we should be getting close to him seeing them do the human line computer.
Yeah,
right?
I'm real excited about that. Yeah,
that's the first thing I really remember us talking about.
Yeah. So I think we're definitely getting there, right? We got to see the pendulums, and that pendulum thing kind of comes back towards the end.
I fell asleep for that part.
Oh, really? Did you not catch up? Oh, my bad.
We skipped.
Okay,
yeah.
I got you. That's fine.
Unfortunately, the sounds kind of soothe me to sleep. So.
Yeah. Well, anytime you're listening to something in a language that is not like your own, it's just sort of talking, and it is soothing. It's like somebody mumbling beyond a door. Yeah. I think, but yeah. So that was really good. I don't know why we're adding Dasha into Three Body.
So that Bing Bing can play the game.
Okay.
I think that's why, right? Like, because he tells her, like, you need to get in there and beat the whole thing. And she's like, well, what good is that going to do? And he's like, you can tell Wang Mao how to beat it. You know?
Right,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, maybe so.
So maybe she'll do something important in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely not disappointed by it, right? Like, he's a fun character. And they trick him into saying the words to dehydrate himself, and then they, like, eat him.
Poor thing. At least he didn't know how he died, you know.
Well, there's really no comic relief like whatsoever. The book is full of comic relief, but there's no comic relief whatsoever in the Three Body like thing. It's just all people trying to figure out how to not die on repeat. And so having Dasha there, I think is a good choice. So.
Will he be able? No, he won't be able to come back into the game, right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I thought it was like game over.
Well, but I imagine that he will because like the civilization resets.
I thought that was like the weed him out. Like you're not able to play the game because you couldn't
even. So you fell asleep, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he hops back in. I think they both go back. Oh no, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll watch that next one.
Yeah. think he's done. So let's see.
One of the other things that we've talked about a lot is that this is kind of a slow burn. Like the show is a slow burn, and but the book was too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the pacing in the show is on par with the pacing in the book. But this is something that, like, I've got family members who are not interested in reading the book, so I'm trying to encourage them to watch the show. And not knowing anything, there definitely is a setup for like a good mystery,
mm-hmm.
right? Because like you don't even know that aliens are a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of get that people are talking about aliens, but it might be too slow for people who are not fans. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's part of why you have to have some of these extra characters, because if they did it the way the book did it, like and you're not invested, you'll lose attention.
And one of our viewers did mention that that's kind of on par with the style of Chinese dramas and stuff.
Oh, really?
It's slow, methodical.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
They draw it out.
Yeah. Well, sometimes books are rushed, and nobody wants that either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's see. So there was a detail in the book that I missed. I just kind of glossed over a lot that you had talked about a little bit, and that's Dong Dong's room.
Oh, yeah.
And in the show, they did such a great job showing her room.
Yeah. That was, so the way they showed it in the show is exactly the way I saw it in my mind, just less so. Right? Like the way they described it in the book, it was like a log cabin, but like with greenery, and I was very confused. but it was nice. Like that is something that I could go to somebody's house and I'd be like, oh, cool, you have like this room for your kid or whatever, And then they added a few details. They added the detail about her bed, which was not something I think was in the book. They have like her drawings and stuff in that little like birch bark book.
Say that 5 times fast.
Birch bark book. And actually that reminds me, because like the whole thing about trees and all that takes us back to I'm going to call him Bob Evans, but that's not right.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, yeah.
Bob Evans is the mac and cheese.
It's excellent. Try it out. Mike, and we have not met Mike Evans yet, but I think we've like maybe seen him on some phone calls and some other things. But Mike Evans did not show up yet.
Okay.
So. And he's in the book fairly early on because we're doing it chronologically. We get Yu and Shin and all that. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Where he at? Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So Wang Mao officially joins the Frontiers of Science.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's who Shashi maybe Han Han's messenger, the guy that turns himself in.
Oh yeah, what a weird scene.
What's up with this?
Yeah. So again, not in the book.
And I fell asleep for sure during that episode.
Well, so that scene is actually really good, because that guy comes in, he's like, "Don't you want to know how I know things or whatever?" And he parks his car. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
He parks his car near
just right there, and he's like, "Let's go."
And I don't know how things are in China, right? But we would not let you go. Right? It might be the law, and it might be like your right to go. We would not let you go if that was all going on. We'd say you were a terrorist or something. We'd keep you as long as we needed to. But so the way that scene ends is he's kind of bragging about different things, and then the general drops knowledge on him, and it's just like, look, we know all this stuff, and it kind of blows his mind, like that they already know so much. And so that was a weird kind of like taunt, but basically that dude is acting as a messenger of Tresselaris, right? He's it's almost a you are bugs kind of moment, where he's sort of saying like, don't you want to know how we know everything? We know where the houses are, we know where the scientists are, how we get these people to kill themselves, all this different stuff. So excuse me. I don't remember that scene all that well either, so it'd be worth going back and checking on. But,
you could make it.
You die right here live. Okay. So, But yeah, it was a fun addition, and it lets it lets the tables kind of turn.
Yeah.
And it gives the general like some interesting character because he is very reserved, and you kind of see him put his cards on the table. So
interesting. Yeah. So that was not in the book, right?
No, it wasn't there.
Okay, so I'm interested to see where that goes, and are we gonna keep seeing him? Let's see. He was given the reporter information. That's how she knew how to be at that guy's house when he fell on the coffee table and take his picture.
Right.
So that's all kind of part of that.
So that scene actually, she's doing a piece on global warming and pollution and stuff, and I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah.
Just because like I don't know anything about thoughts of the average person on like pollution and global warming and stuff in China, you know, like, and so I thought it was just like a cool thing to see happening, just like some normal stuff, you know. So.
Yeah, and that's very Mike Evans and
yeah, sure.
And there was even talk about, you know, no one talks about the fact that we've lost, you know, 90% of whatever species and all that. So. Yeah. Neato.
Yeah, I think we've gone through all the notes that I have made.
Yeah, that's all I've got. We've got a few people in the chat. What are some things that stood out to you guys? And I guess, I mean, I know Hypno Bob is way ahead of us, but you know, if there's any things that you wish was shown more or explained better in the show.
Yeah. You know, one of the other things, and I can't remember if we talked about this on the first episode, is that the base is in like an old art museum, and like that's a weird addition, but it's fun.
It is weird, and I wonder if they're gonna at any point use like that huge fossil there as some kind of analogy, or to help them understand a piece of the puzzle, or anything like that. And just why? Why did they use that as
the cheapest building to film in, right? I don't know.
It's cool looking.
Yeah, it is cool looking. It's really cool looking. It's huge. Like,
yeah. And I like Dasha's little office area. And I love that when he acknowledges how awesome Bing Bing is, he's like, "Don't mop anymore." And he takes the mom. I'll mop.
You know, and he has that mural behind his desk.
Yes,
that is the three sons were basically with little somebody else looking at him. Yeah, little hints like that. So it's kind of cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna keep on talking forever. If y'all have other things that you've noticed, or if we're wrong about something, please leave it in the comments after the video is over, and we're definitely really interested. There have been a lot of people coming through that aren't normal watchers who are watching these videos, and that's great. We love that. But we'd love for you to join in the conversation with us, because it's so much fun just reliving the three-body journey, because, man.
I already can't wait for season 2.
Yeah. Is that happening? Are we sure?
It better happen. Tencent, if you're watching.
Yeah, if you're watching.
I need season 2, because book 2 I think was my favorite. I was most engaged all the way through. It just had storylines that I was fascinated with. Oh, and also someone in our comments had kind of reminded me of where book 1 ends. And it's, so they make Wang Mao in the series so much more engaged and intelligent than what I saw him as in the book. And he's working on this nanotechnology, the flying blades or whatever. Right. And we've got the slicing at the end of this book to look forward to, and I had totally forgotten about that. So I'm super looking forward to visually seeing and hearing that. Yeah. Because the description of how that sounds in the book was intense.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And like we're nowhere close to even getting there. You know, like we have so far to go.
Yeah, we do.
I'm so excited. Let's go watch.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody keeping up with us and watching this. We will we'll figure out how many episodes we're going to watch before we do another one like this.
Like no more than 4, because I forget what I want to talk about.
Maybe more than 4.
Why?
Like 5 or 6.
Why you do this to me?
We'll figure it out. All right. Well, everybody have a good night. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and we
thanks
will
for
see
watching.
you next time.
Bye.
Bye.